I was, like everyone else, initially extremely turned off to Square Enix doing a Guardians of the Galaxy game after the smoldering dumpster fire failure that was Avengers. And I was one of the people who initially went pretty easy on Avengers because it had stuff I liked. I enjoyed the chemistry and banter between the characters, the tighter focus on the linear levels, but everything else in the realm of the live service portions of the game was a boring, disinteresting slog because they didn't even know how to make a live service game properly. The whole point was to incentivize you to want to pay money and play the game a ton, and it failed at doing both of those. So, I looked at Guardians and was like, ew, I don't want another one of those games. I wasn't even planning to buy it. But my good buddy James Portis over at On Comics Ground had a code for a review copy and asked me to do a more condensed review of the game over on his site. Thank him for hooking me up by checking out his site and giving him a follow. Well, I sure do like getting things for free because I'm not made out of money, and I decided to take him up on his offer and give it a try. And after properly playing it, I can confidently say, this is the exact game I think Avengers should have been. If I had known this was the final result, I would have paid for it because this game is a triumph built on all of Avengers' numerous failings. Guardians of the Galaxy is everything Avengers failed to be. But before we get to more of that, this video is sponsored by Exter, the world's largest smart wallet brand, whose goal is to design innovative solutions to the way you carry items. Exter was kind enough to ship me one of their awesome smart wallets so I can unbox it and check it out for you. I'm struck by just how thin it is compared to other wallets. It's the same size as a typical cell phone, but it still carries just as much for your cards and cash in a very durable, high-quality leather casing. It has a handy button on it for extending all of your cards without opening it. What makes it even more revolutionary is this tracking card that hooks up to the Chipolo app on your phone. So this is one wallet you don't have to worry about losing. You can ring the card from your phone to hear that pesky wallet in your couch cushions, and you can ring your phone with this button on the card if you ever lose that between the seats at the movie theater. Extra smart wallets are designed to protect you from skimming and potential thieves with their easy-to-use solutions for always keeping track of your money. Try out one of Exter's smart wallets and various other time-saving designs to carry better using my special link in the description. Now back to the video.
Your differences are your greatest superpower.
One of my comments about what the Avengers game lacked was that the characters didn't feel unique to play as. And this pulls a total 180. Everyone does something different and contributes something different. Star-Lord has his elemental blasts and his detective mode visor. Gamora can climb higher than anyone, serve as an anchor point to boost you up and cut down obstacles. Drax can lift and move heavy objects. Groot's vines and tendrils can make bridges or snare enemies. Rocket can climb into small spaces and hack machinery. Everyone actually has something to do. Unlike the Avengers game where the main gameplay loop was punching and then doing a half-baked traversal mechanic to get around. Sure, you had minor puzzles like Captain America's shield activating buttons, but those were only for moments where you were forced to play as him, and 90% of the time you're not in a level linear enough to even have said puzzles. And a few of those you could just as easily do with any character's projectile, too. There was a lot of nice downtime in Guardians between the actiony stuff, of just entering an area where I wasn't sure how to progress, and then having the team figure it out for me while I sat back and used my space cell phone to catch up on Chucky. Except I couldn't hear it with all the friendly ribbing and banter going on between these spatially diverse schmucks talking over my precious Brad Dourif cackling.
Who says there's something down there? Shut the hell up!
I was taken back by just how much the team banters. This game is packed with dialogue. The team has a contextually appropriate comment for everything, from Star-Lord fucking off the main path to go explore and look for unlockables.
The fortress is this way, Peter Quill.
I know, I'm just doing some exploring.
Ain't we done enough of that already?
I'm pretty sure exploring is code. It means he went the wrong way, but is too stubborn to admit it.
In that case, Quill's the greatest explorer I ever met.
Shooting your gun randomly for no reason.
What are you firing at, Peter Quill?
Did you see a monster?
No, just trying to stay ready.
To full conversations if you pick the wrong guy to accomplish a task.
I don't know. Rocket, can you take care of those branches?
You want me to blow it up?
That shouldn't be our answer to everything.
Good thing we have a plant guy to take care of a plant problem.
He says plants aren't problems.
Drax, think this is a sign from Lady Hellbender?
We are clearly not wanted on this planet.
Can you get us through here, Gamora?
Whatever it takes to find Hellbender.
To just everyone chatting when you stand around idling or taking too long to figure out a puzzle. These guys practically never shut up, and that's incredibly impressive from a technical standpoint, because writing, recording, and programming that amount of dialogue is no easy feat. I feel like this game warrants multiple playthroughs for that feature alone, because it's so easy to miss dialogue if you're running through at a normal pace. At some point, I have to do a lazy Star-Lord playthrough where I take 40% longer to accomplish anything, just to see where you exhaust the amount of conversations. I think this game has set a new bar for just how much dialogue a game can have, because I don't think I've ever encountered one with this much outside of like a giant open world RPG game. And these conversations are witty, funny, and informative about the lore and characters too. You get a sense that these characters are buddies and know each other pretty well because they always have something to say to and about one another, or a story to tell about past adventures. Or one of them just has some interesting information that only they know and can share with the group. And I really dig that you have the option to jump in and influence the conversation by picking sides in an argument, trying to cheer up the team when they're down, or just cracking bad jokes to boost morale. Especially in these first-person segments where you're just watching everyone have a conversation from this lockdown camera angle, and you get to participate too. I don't know if this game necessarily made me feel like Star-Lord, but it sure made me feel like I was there talking to these guys, and really getting to know them. There's even some influence from the Telltale style of games now, with little notes acknowledging how characters react to your choices and actions. But you might be wondering, is this game a bit of a missed opportunity with not being able to play as all 5 members? A lot of people were really disappointed that this game was not multiplayer. However, I feel like Guardians managed to make it work. You're dealing out team commands so frequently in battle, upgrading every member of the team, and using their various skills for puzzles so much that it almost feels like you are playing as all of them, albeit a little indirectly. You get a good sense that you're the leader and they follow your commands to the letter, so you have control of all 5 characters at once. It's like having a team of 4 multicolored Atreuses with different weapons and skills in God of War. Actually, that makes me wonder what it would be like to have a Ninja Turtles game where you just play as Splinter. As for Star-Lord's controls himself, I'm glad this isn't really a hack-and-slash melee-focused game like Avengers, because the constant button mashing in that felt really tedious. This one's more of a shooter with an emphasis on run and gunning with your blasters and dodging around enemies. Star-Lord's got a melee attack, but it's not the best, which is what you have your team for. You hang back to shoot and guide everyone on what to stab from distance or in the air. It feels like an extremely simplified version of an RTS game in that regard, and I think it works pretty well. It's always nice using different combinations of special attacks from your team to do a lot of damage. I did end up enjoying this game's combat system quite a bit. And hey, look at the skill trees for character upgrades. I don't need a manual and a YouTube guide to explain how to navigate these goddamn menus and upgrade the characters to not be totally worthless. It's just a list. Can this be the standard again? Can we throw this away forever? Like, I just don't want to play games that have this anymore. I'm so sick of this. And I know that's like a weird hot take, but fuck. How do we go from this nonsense to just having costumes you pick up off the ground like a PS2 game? That's so retro and fun, and I love it. But it also sickens me that this is no longer the default way of doing this. You just explore and find it laying around. I haven't seen that since the X-Men Origins Wolverine game.
37 units?
We should go after Fin Fang Foom.
Drax, there are easier ways to get paid. Like, what about selling Gamora's crap?
What?
You guys look stupid.
And you got dozens of costumes across all these characters that are all unique. None of them are shitty eyesore recolors that have no excuse to exist, like a hot pink and orange Groot. Look, I don't mind paying for cosmetics in a game if they're unique and look good. Fortnite, I know, cringe, I get it, has all these diverse costumes with special crafting tools and emotes and parachutes, and the styles from them even change the model in most cases. But the Avengers game is over here asking you to drop $20 for a purple Iron Man like that's something people want or care about. When Spider-Man finally gets added to Avengers, all of his admittedly pretty cool skins will have stuff like this thrown in because they can't help themselves. Oh, you got a werewolf Captain America that looks bad and ruins cutscenes. How quaint. Big ups to Guardians and Spider-Man for being the gold standard. All these character skins are unlocked in the game for free, and they're all different and look good. I really appreciate that they even say what the costume's first appearance was and who designed it. I think the Spider-Man series could take a cue from that. Support comic book creators, kids. Lord knows the industry won't do it, or even necessarily credit them properly when using their work in movies. The levels only allow for a limited amount of exploration, but there's still enough to keep you sidetracked and grabbing unlockable costumes and upgrades here and there. Plus, these levels have a ton of variety visually and how they play. From a floating graveyard of exploded starships held together with space glue, to a lush forested planet with exotic alien wildlife and heavy winds, to a grungy space city like nowhere, to an ice planet covered in ruins and the trail of dead explorers killed by a dragon, to a bunch of other crazy shit. I'm really happy that none of this game was like 7 or 8 maps of reused tree assets to make dull forests of indistinct robots. This game isn't perfect, obviously, as much as I enjoyed it. I played it early and saw a lot of distracting bugs with certain character models or ear-piercing audio glitches, and I hope that'll all be patched eventually. It might also not have helped that I played it on PS4 because... donate to the Patreon if you want me to get a PlayStation 5 at some point in the next 5 years. And when the game's working as intended, it has all the hallmarks of a lot of big-budget AAA games lately that are becoming very tiresome tropes. Every major blockbuster video game now needs to really visibly break up the pacing of combat with a room full of interactable items that you're forced to go investigate one by one at a slow-ass walking pace. You have no choice but to go look at all these different elements of the set piece and listen to characters comment on them. And the level of gameplay here is so low that it makes me wonder why they even bother letting you pick it up yourself if it's mandatory. At least hide the stuff a little so I have to find it or something, just like a little more engagement. Because at this point, just make it a long cutscene. A lot of more expensive games are trying so hard to be cinematic lately that they railroad you into scenes like this, and it gets irritating. Especially on your second playthrough, like, yeah, I heard all this before, can I please get back to fighting or swinging around the city or stabbing zombies or whatever? And can we have a single AAA game where there isn't a section of an older dad player character watching over a young girl that's either his biological or surrogate daughter? Every damn video game now is about being a dad because all the game developers are now in their 40s and have kids. At least God of War broke the mold by having it be a boy that time. I think developers and writers are usually afraid to have the kid character be a boy because it's easier to find them way more annoying. Jason! Like the way everyone reacted to Duck in the Walking Dead game, even though he wasn't that bad.
You're the Grace Detective, and I can be Dick Grayson, your ward. That's Robin.
I know who it is.
Wow, you sure are Dick Grayson, little buddy. Because you're dead.
What the fuck?
Thankfully, that's a relatively small part of Guardians to set up the plot early on, but it's getting a little old as a concept. How about at least a game where you're a sad mom? Where are all the mom games? You got like Resident Evil 2 and that's it. Give me a Ripley and Newt game. Or hell, give Lara Croft a teenage son if you want to be different and still have an NPC for players to care about. Just some variety, please. Can't forget sidling through narrow spaces to hide the loading screens. This game has the most of those I think I've ever seen in one place, and sometimes they're actually not very easy to spot, so you end up just getting kind of lost for a little while. I like that this game didn't feel the need to handcuff itself to the MCU version of the Guardians. Sure, the inspiration is absolutely visible, but there's a lot of really obscure stuff here that really hasn't even been mentioned in the MCU. Like Wendigo, Richard Rider, Darkhawk, Alpha Flight, Galactus, and practically every major character is from a random issue of one book or another from the 80s. They had a huge toy box of stuff to use from the comics, and they grabbed a handful, I love the utilization of random cosmic characters. When was the last time you heard someone talk about Darkhawk in a video game?
Darkhawk is faster than you.
Okay, spoiler territory, watch out. And more than a few of these obscure comic references end up making for awesome boss battles. Like the twins that are invulnerable as long as they're close together. You have to play it smart and separate them to do some damage. Or this cool octopus thing that's a one of those fights. You know those, it's a one of those. And then you fight Fin Fang Foom. I haven't fought him since 2006, what a rush! I guess I should talk about the story now. So, Guardians of the Galaxy stars Mullet Lord as the leader of a team of intergalactic heroes for hire with some questionable ethics but hearts of gold. On a mission to steal a rare animal from a quarantined part of space to sell for profit, our heroes accidentally unleash a powerful evil entity called the Magus that infects the galaxy with its mind control, promising to return their dead loved ones if they give it universal control. But while the Magus is building its forces in secret, the Guardians are caught committing their theft and have to pay a $7,000 fine, but the currency is Space Chuck E. Cheese tokens. This leads them on an adventure to both save the galaxy and not get thrown in jail by a space police officer that Star-Lord used to date, who has a daughter that might be Star-Lord's kid that he never knew about. But the Magus takes control of Nikki, the would-be Star Kid, and uses her as a conduit to spread its evil influence everywhere. This means the Guardians can't exactly go in guns blazing against the enemy since there's an innocent child under all that, forcing them to some really crazy alternatives to save the day. The story spends a lot of time really developing the individual traumas of the team and showing us how it's affected them. This version of the Guardians is united by being misfits, but also by being subject to great loss. Groot's home planet, Drax's family, Peter's mother, Gamora's sister, and Rocket's friends that were experimented on when he was first created. The game gives us time to confront and overcome each of the Guardians' personal traumatic memories, either by talking about their feelings, being forced to overcome a fear to save the team, or more direct methods of literally having to kill their grief. I really enjoyed getting to know this version of the team, and the story structure of Guardians reminds me a lot of Mass Effect. Like how you do loyalty missions for each of your crew to really get in their heads, learn their backstories, and earn their trust. This is also reflected by the game having choices that subtly influence the outcome of the story. Like I said before, I hate games where the choice is a binary, which flavor of birthday cake do you want? And if you pick the red frosting, a school bus full of children explodes and the entire cast of characters stand in a circle shaming you and throwing rocks at you because you're a terrible person. The choices here only really affect the difficulty of the final level by having different characters from throughout the story show up to help you, allowing you to one-shot enemies that would normally be incredibly tough, or skipping some combat sections altogether. I accidentally got like a perfect run in that regard and got everyone there by the end of my playthrough. The story wouldn't have been a total bummer full of characters scolding you if they weren't there, but it's nice to have them there as backup. This is like the exact level of choices I like in games. I want more games like this that ultimately have like about the same ending no matter what I do, so I don't get the ending where the universe explodes because I didn't look up a guide. Why did I like Mass Effect so much again? Oh, that's right. The story element that worried me the most in the first playthrough was the character of Nikki, and the possibility of giving Star-Lord an illegitimate character development daughter like so many other comic book characters recently. You're an irresponsible train wreck of a man. Here's a 12-year-old child to make you get your act together because the original ideas are dead.
But she isn't your daughter. She's not my daughter. She's a war orphan.
But this game subverted that trope by revealing that Nikki is not his daughter. But just the thought of it gets him to really care for her and take the mission of saving her more seriously than anything before. I really like this more compassionate and mature version of the character, and I felt really attached to his arc of becoming more responsible through the game, while also learning to let go of his grief.
I don't understand. I love you.
There's some really gut-wrenching moments in here that might be hard to sit through for some people, and I admire that risk.
And we're laughing. That's good.
It's perfect. This is us. This is how we park.
Well, this is how Quill parks anyways.
We were not fated to die this day. Unless, of course, Fin Fang Foom devours us whole.
Guardians is a wonderful story that's touching, fun, exciting, and full of heart. These characters are all assholes, but they love each other, and at the end of the day, they're just trying to do the right thing in spite of all their mistakes. The characters have amazing chemistry, and the gameplay works in service of their story instead of against it. Their differences as people are utilized incredibly well in gameplay, and everyone feels like an individual you can get really attached to.
Your differences are your...
I wasn't a fan of most of the creative choices the Avengers game made, but there were elements of something great under the surface. Maybe it was meant to end up like this, and they changed it into a live service game at the last minute. But regardless, Guardians is just everything I liked about Avengers without the huge parts that I hated. It's a full and fulfilling experience that's technically impressive, full of great payoffs and gameplay that's unique, with a story that kept me engaged and invested the whole way through. This is the comeback story of the millennium. That being said, I'm still not playing this again until that DLC comes out because you, and even then, I don't know, man, I don't know.
What kind of name is Avengers?